Here's an Airbnb tip. I have noticed that I've gotten some really good deals on Airbnbs, and I have gone back to see if I could book it again. A good example is I don't know the prices, so I should have that before I talk about it. But there's an Airbnb I stayed at in Chicago last summer, and it was great basically because of its location. I mean, it was fine in terms of the space itself, but the location was really good, so much so that I wanted to repeat that this year. And when I went to look back, the price for that Airbnb is exponentially higher. I don't remember the exact numbers of difference, but I would not rent that same Airbnb when I got it for like, say, $80 a night. And now maybe it's $800. Like, it's something crazy like that. And I realized that I do that a lot. I find these Airbnbs and they'll have these really good prices and I'll book it. And when I look back to say, hey, that place was great, now that I know what it is, I'll book it again. I'll go back and it can be like triple, quadruple the price. So here's the tip. One is sometimes Airbnbs, just like hotels, they're not going to make any money if they're empty. So when you're closer to the date and they're not booked, they'll do a reduced price. And I think they show it with like a little line through it and let you know it's a reduced price Airbnb. And I'm assuming, I'm not an Airbnb host, but I'm assuming that the owners are like, wow, this place is not booked for next week. And so I'm going to cut the price because I'd rather make something than nothing. So that would be one tip. When you're close to the date, just check. Just do a quick check and choose your filter for however much you know, if you want, like, if I could get a place for $50 a night, you know, depending on where you're going, that's maybe doable. And put your filter down at 50 and just see what comes up. Because I've had that happen randomly, like the Chicago place. I was booking kind of last minute because some plans had changed. And this place came up and it looked great. And the price was great, so I booked it. But that has happened with me several times. The other one, so there's two things. One is there may be some reduced rates close to the date. And most hotel and Airbnb accommodations, you can cancel almost up till the day of your stay. So I always book something that I know I can work with. I put the cancellation date a reminder in my phone at least 2 or 3 days before the last date. And then when I get closer, or when you get closer, you can go look again. And you may find one of those one of those places that normally would rent for much higher, and they've reduced it. The second tip is there are a lot of new Airbnbs that have either only been booked like once or twice or not at all. And if you're risky, I'm a risk taker. So I will rent an Airbnb that has not been rented at all. I don't do it often. I may have only really done one that's brand new once, but because you don't have reviews. But a lot of times those hosts with a new Airbnb will have other Airbnbs and they've just opened a new one. And so you can kind of get a feel for what kind of host they are from looking at their reviews on their other Airbnbs. That's one. And then two, if it's a brand new place, sometimes, like I said, I've been to a few where they only had 1 or 2 reviews. So you read those and you kind of figure out, is this their friend trying to help them out, giving them a good review to get them going, or does it sound legitimate? You got to read all the reviews. But you look through the pictures, you kind of just read everything in fine detail. And a lot of times there'll be great Airbnbs. I know I caught a new one in Mexico City, and it wasn't dirt cheap. I booked it at the last minute because it was a kind of impulse trip, but they were new and they were set up like a hotel, and these newer ones, because they're new, it can go both ways, but I have found the new ones will go above and beyond. Like this one had a beer and some wine and some water and makeup removers and like fresh flowers and like this whole thing. Because they're new, I can probably guarantee you now, a year later, they probably have cut back on all the amenities and their price has probably skyrocketed. I'm going to actually go look right now and see. Maybe I can add that in the description. But I just wanted to, it's something I've learned over time. I'm like, how do I keep getting these cheap Airbnbs? And when I try to get them again, they never cost the same. There was one in St. Pete Beach that I got, and it was just a basic condo. I thought it was just basic. And they rent that place for like $600 or $700 a night, something crazy. And when I got it, it was less than $100 a night. So those are the two tips. The brand new Airbnbs or almost new with just a few reviews, they'll have a low price because they're trying to build traction and clientele, and you can catch them then. It's never going to be like that later. Or the last minute Airbnb where they've kind of cut the price. And I don't know if they always show a cut price. I don't really pay attention, so I can't remember. But even if it doesn't show a cut price, just do a filter for what you're willing to pay, $100 a night, $70 a night, whatever is just like your dream price, and then check what's in there. And you may be surprised if you're like a week and a half, no more than 2 weeks out.